I'm interested in what actually defines. How do you know you where you are, when you are, and how you are? I mean, there must be some boundaries on this mountain we have behind us. For instance, it's probably looks like to be about a couple of kilometres away from here. Can I operate SOTA right here in the comfort of this nice little park bench for that summit?
Beautiful. So there are some. They sound simple, but they end up being a little bit complex in their application. But basically, for a hill to be a legitimate, the answer to that question is no, just because of where we are. But for a hill to be applicable in summits on the year, you need 200. It needs to have a prominence of 150 vertical meters. So what that means is, if you imagine the hills in your area, and you take the top of that hill, and you imagine it flooded, and then you recede that water level down 150 meters. If you have an unbroken circle, and there's no other peaks that are poking up around that, it's like an island, then you have prominence. You have at least 150 meters of prominence.
Okay, this lump of land depth behind me here qualifies so far. Yeah.
Yep. So that's the remarkables.
Yep.
But that's pretty much it. That's pretty much it. The hill just has to have prominence. So if you imagine a mountain range that looks like this, it goes up a little bit and then down 100 meters, and then up another bit and down 140 meters, and then the next peak goes up and then it drops 130 meters, and then the next peak goes up and then it drops 200 meters. Only the very top peak will qualify, because the others don't have prominence. They're considered sub-peaks.
Yeah, okay.
And that's really it. So that defines the summits that we can use.
Yep.
And there's a big old list of those. And then in terms of activating, the operator must be within 25 vertical meters of the true summit of the hill. And so that's it. So you figure out where the summit is, and then for safe, I think not so much in ZL, because there's no people there, but in really popular areas, you have a 25 meter offset. So you can operate 25 meters below the true summit and still be legitimate. Right. So you can get out of the way of tourists and people, normal people doing normal things.
Normal people doing normal things.
Yeah, you can leave them alone, and you can sit there and do your thing on the side. But those are the two primary rules for summits on the year.
Okay, well that's brilliant. I do have an app on my phone, which causes a bit of hilarity at times, but I noticed that, actually, if I run that up and I start running up a mountain, it'll actually tell me when I'm there.
Yeah, for sure.
It
tells you when it's called the activation zone, that 25 meter area.
So you're up on top of a mountain. How do you let people know that you're there, Chris?
So again, we're in ZL, so there's not a lot of infrastructure. Ideally, in the ideal world, the phone still works.
Yeah.
And so there are apps and websites you can use, and what you're doing is you're spotting yourself. And a spot is really simple. It's just a message that says your call sign, the frequency that you're on, and the hill that you're on. There's something called an alert. An alert is something that you set up before the fact to say, hey, my name is Rolly and I'm going to be at the top of Mount Cook, and I'm going to be there on Wednesday the 3rd, or whatever it is. And I'm going to be there at about 11. That's before the fact. And then the spot is, hey, I'm here, come get me. I'm on 40 meters, I'm on 7.032, here's my call sign, and here's the summit that I'm on. Right. And you do that digitally, and then that gets pushed out online, and people can see it, and they come and chase after you. So I'm sitting at the top of a hill, I punch that in. Rolly sees that spot, he thinks, oh great, I don't like Chris that much, but I like him enough to go and chase him.
Chase him.
And so there, he knows where I am and when I am. If there's no phone coverage, then that's really hard. You either use if you set up an alert, the RBN, the reverse beacon network, will pick you up and automatically spot you.
Yes.
Or if that doesn't work, I use the Iridium network on a Garmin InReach, and you can do some fancy business with that to spot yourself as well.
So you're sitting up in the mountain there, and it's okay to be an activator.
Yeah, for sure.
But you certainly need chasers to go along with it.
Absolutely.
I mean, that's the other side of the equation, really, isn't it? Mm-hmm. So there it is. Well, you've heard it from a professional SOTA guys. So if you see the spots, go onto the SOTA sites and chase the spots. And if you see Chris ZL4RA and other ZLs, there's quite a bunch of them actually running around, mostly in the weekends, running around these mountaintops. Give it a go. See if you can get hold of these guys and give them a call. CW wise, hey, you don't have to be flash with the CW, incidentally, guys. So just actually, in many ways, the slower the better, and it doesn't really matter if it takes you 5-10 minutes, does it, Chris?
No, that's it. Some of the best. There are activators out there that are so much. Their CW is so much better than mine, and they activate slower. They run at 15 words a minute, and they're totally happy with that. And as I say, they're much more confident than I am. I'm up there. I don't want to be here at 20 words a minute, trying to get it done and go home. Yeah, and it's a really cool. You get a really cool connection with the people that you're working.
Yeah.
It's not just, you know, because you're at home or on another mountain. You know they're kind of suffering, or they've worked really hard, and you can look at it on a map and you can see where they are, and you end up bagging all these peaks from home, and it's a really cool relationship. Like, I know lots of the spotters, lots of the chasers pretty well.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just a really awesome community, and it's just a really good way to make friends.
I have noticed too, Chris, in a way, from a chaser's point of view, I hear the other chasers around, and I'll go, well, we won't give Chris too much of a hard time. We all fall in line.
Yeah, for sure.
Because rather than saying, oh, I got to get this QSO and just all in together, it makes it difficult from your point of view. So from the chaser's point of view, yeah, I think if you can cooperate with each other and just form a nice little queue, it works pretty well too, dude.
Yeah, ZLs, and I mean, I don't have a lot of experience with lots of other stations. I work predominantly ZLs and VKs, but they're amazing. They're so good, they're so orderly, they're so polite, they're so good with people. I mean, my CW was still terrible, but when I started, it was even worse. And people were just super lovely about it. The one problem with ZL and VK stations, when they chase, and there's a pile up, and there's a lot of them there, is that they're so well organized that what happens is I'll put out my call sign, and then 4 stations will come back, and they'll all stop. They'll all immediately stop transmitting because they can hear there are other stations there, and they wait. They all wait the exact same length of time. They'll wait a nice 5 or 6 seconds, and then they'll all jump back on with beautiful CW that's really hard to pick out, and they're almost too regimented.
Yeah.
But no, they're great. It's a pleasure to have ZL and VK stations chase.
Of course, the other thing which you don't really appreciate sitting at home as a chaser in my nice warm room and so on like that, you're up the top of a peak, and often it's blowing a gale, and then or the weather is pretty inclement. And I notice you're trying to send CW with sometimes with gloves on, and that gets frustrating. So you take the gloves off. Now you got frozen fingers, and you're still trying to send CW. I mean, I take my hat off to you, really, Rick, because I'm a young buck, mate. It's fine. Don't worry about me. Okay.
Don't feel sorry for me.
Well, okay.
You know,
move on.
Nothing.
Yeah, move
it's
on.
Nothing.
Then. Yeah, move on. It's nothing. Yeah, right. What else are you interested in ham radio? Then we talked a lot about SOTA. You got other interest in ham radio, or is that it?
Yeah, I just really like being outside, and it's such a. I really like the fact that you can take something that's really technical and do it outside. You know, it's a really nice marriage for me. I really like POTA, which is the same thing. You're just driving to a park instead of to a hill. I was big into satellites for a long time. Really enjoy satellites. But again, it's the same thing. You go outside and you're waving your Yagi around, your beam around, trying to make contacts on satellites. I've done a lot of digital stuff, which is really fun. It's so easy. It's really easy to get out and just talk to different people from different walks of life, you know, on D-Star or DMR or whatever it is. But a lot of the antenna building and that kind of jazz is really SOTA centric. So it's all about being very light and, you know, making a good compromise in terms of antenna efficiency and the weight of it and the ease of deployment. So it all kind of feeds from that desire to be outside and operate.
That's a great little subculture in this vast array of things we can do in amateur radio operating. I mean, that's
ridiculous.
It's incredible. It's quite fascinating, really, where moon bounce can be somebody's
crazy.
It can be somebody's thing, you know. And amateur radio is nothing but moon bounce. And and then you get an old codger like me, where I love having to sitting there with a CW and just preferably a straight key.
Right. Awesome.
And just yarning away.
Right.
And to me, it just sounds like music.
Yeah, it's good.
And I don't know. I don't even hear the individual letters. It just forms words, and you just have a good time. Yeah, in the next minute we find somebody just doing slow scan TV or something.
Yeah, that's it.
Something crazy, you know.
On a SOTA summit, yeah. With a Baofeng. Yeah.
There we be. Well, thanks, Chris. I think that's just absolutely marvellous, and
No worries.
glad to spend some time with you and just talk about it. I've been looking forward to this for quite some time, actually, to be honest. Yeah.
That's good to see you. Great to meet you.
Yeah, indeed.